Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode. I'm sorry I couldn't post last week as I have been sick, and I thought it would be nice to have some rest. But this week, let's continue our investigation, and the investigation is actually going on at the moment about the understanding of thought. We have uh, discussed how thought has a limited nature, how thought tries to guide the brain, how thought is creating experiences. We discussed what is the mechanism of that uh, making of those experiences. If you haven't checked that, please you can go back to the previous few videos and you can find it. Today I would like to continue with the conflict aspect of thought. So let's define conflict first of all straight away, because then it's clear what we are trying to say. Conflict is just, in general, it means, in English language, I guess, to have opposing desires. Like if two guys or two people have opposite interests, then we can say they are in conflict. But psychologically, what we are trying to say here is that when thought is interacting with itself, in the mechanism of thought video, we explored that how thought is dividing itself into two points, two parts. It can divide itself into multiple parts as well, but we started with this basic division or the basic duality, and we saw that after dividing, those two ends interact. Okay, the very interaction of those two ends is what we are calling conflict here. So conflict doesn't have a positive or negative connotation when I'm using it. I'm using it merely as an interaction of thought with itself. The interaction can be positive, the interaction can be negative. It can be both ways. Now, to us, it has become quite common, this conflict in our minds, that there is always something going on. Okay, we can, in a different way, we can say we are always thinking. Is the other way to say we are always in conflict. Okay, so the way you are always thinking is the same way as you're always in conflict. So because thinking is always about something, you're always trying to either solve something or trying to find a solution, or trying to explore something, trying to imagine something. All those different aspects of thinking are kind of a conflict for the mind, because the mind naturally likes to be at rest. No one really wants to do hard work for no reason. Okay, so the conflict is arising with thought's interaction with itself. Now, what that conflict does is, first of all, it takes up a lot of energy. Okay, it consumes a lot of energy, the process of conflict. And second, it is our way of interacting with the world. Let's look at it a little bit. One way of having the conflict is that you are not doing anything, you are just making a movie inside your head. You're just thinking, and there comes one thought, then next thought, then thought after thought after thought, and this chain of thought, okay, is in a row. And that's one way of having a conflict in your mind. Okay, the mind is in conflict and it's constantly imagining or thinking about something. Another way is that when the mind goes to interact with the world. Okay? Now you see, there are two ways of interacting with the world. To us in general life, only one is very familiar, common, whatever word we can use. And the second one is actually not really used or even explored. We don't even know that the second way actually exists. So let's take the second way and put it aside straight away, quickly, so that we can focus on the first one. The second way of interacting with the world is direct observation. Okay, I directly observe something, and that very observation is making me be in contact with that object or whatever I'm observing. Okay, that's the way of direct observation. I observe, and in my observation, I am in contact with that thing, what I'm observing. Now, this thing is not common in humans. We usually don't live in this way. Now, what is the common way? The common way is always to look using thought or via thought. And that is why the connection you feel with the world or with what you're looking at is always coming through the process of thinking. Okay, let's take an example. I see a table in front of me. Okay, I'm looking at a table in front of me. Now I look at the table, and the moment I look at the table, there's a straightaway recognition by the mind and by the brain that it's a table. Okay, so the looking at the table is giving birth to this definition in my mind, okay, that it's a table. Then I might see some other aspects of that table, like what is the color of the table, and eventually I can even say that do I like the table or I don't like the table or whatever. So all that information about the table comes to the mind, okay? And now this information which comes to the mind via observation of the table becomes one point, and the mind or thought creates the second point, who is now judging this information. Okay, the first thing that happens, and it happens instantaneously, you have to be very aware to catch yourself, is that the very looking at the object will create the first point in your mind, which is what is the object, what's the color of the object, blah 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 blah. 100 things will come about the object. And when those 100 things are coming, the second point in the mind is also created, which is looking at all these things and then judging what's right, what's not right, what do I like, what do I not like, which is the you, the ego, so as to say. And then this point, the second point, the ego point, interacts with the information point, which is coming from observation, and then this interaction is conflict. Okay, you can see that. Let's say, let's take another example. Okay, I see a person I don't like. As for example, I am in a situation of a little fight with someone, whatever could be the reason. Now, I'm sitting at a place and I see this person. I'm sitting at a coffee place and I see the person walk in. Now, the very observation of that person creates the first point. Okay, that hey, this entity has entered the coffee room and maybe he's wearing this kind of clothes, blah blah blah. All the scanning has happened and I have the first point. And now the ego judges this first point by comparing what the ego knows about it already. Okay, the ego knows that this person is someone I don't like. Okay, so already the ego judges this image in a negative way. Okay, And the beautiful thing that happens is, while this interaction is going on, you are not looking at that person anymore. I don't know if you have seen this or not. I look at the person walk in, and the moment I start thinking about that person, after the person walks in, and I start thinking, he's here. Why is he here? Hey, why couldn't he pick up another coffee place? Why do I have such a bad luck that I have to see his face again, or whatever? The moment all this story is going on, you stop looking at that person. I don't know if you have observed it or not. You can check it. That the focus of the mind is shifted from the person to this interaction of 2 points, the conflict, which is inside the mind. Okay? So the mind observes. On the basis of the observation, it creates an image about what it's looking at. Okay? And then it brings the second image, the ego, and judges this image. And when it judges this image, there is conflict. Okay? But the person thinks, this ego thinks, that it is in conflict with that person. It is in conflict, or it is in a situation of discomfort with the person. But actually, the discomfort arises in its own mind, which is the only reason it can feel it. Otherwise, it wouldn't feel something outside its mind, outside the range of the mind. Okay? So the person observes the other person whom he likes or doesn't like, whatever. It could be both ways. Okay? I'm taking an example of someone you don't like because I'm using the word conflict, which is generally taken negatively. But in the beginning, we have said we are using conflict in a neutral way, the word. So the same way could be that someone I like enters the coffee room, and my mind observes that person, creates an image about that person straight away, and then starts judging that image. That, this person, she's cool, he's cool, what a nice hairstyle, what is this, what is that, and all that interaction. And all of that is happening inside of my mind. All of that is trying to make me feel something, whether good or bad. But I am thinking this person is making me feel that. I wonder if you see this. This is very important. That generally I think that the object of my observation has invoked emotion inside of me, has invoked this special feeling inside of me. But it is not like that. The real feeling that you feel is actually coming on the basis of the image or the photograph that you create of that person in your mind. And then when you judge that photograph, that judgment, that interaction, that conflict gives rise to emotion, whether it's a positive emotion or the negative emotion. Okay? So, as I said, one conflict could be self-created. There is no observation of the world. You are lying down on your bed, your eyes are closed, and you are imagining one image after the other, and blah, blah, blah. You are the hero of your own story, and you keep imagining for half an hour, whatever. That's one kind of conflict. So, and the second kind of conflict is the conflict with the actual world. Okay? When someone calls you stupid or breaks the glass of your car, you think you are angry at that person. Listen this very carefully. But actually, you are angry because you observe the fact of breaking of the car, or you observe the fact that the person calls me stupid. Then you create an image about that observation in your mind. Then you judge that image, verify that image through another image, the second point, the ego. And this conflict between the image created from the world and the ego is what makes you feel bad. Okay? The image from the world says you are stupid, but you yourself think you are very smart. And when these two things come in contact, naturally they will, try to destroy each other. It's very natural, because one is one kind of information, the other is another kind of information. One is saying you're stupid, one is saying you're not stupid. Okay? So essentially, thought is in conflict with itself. You are not in conflict with the world. The world is not disturbing you. At the end, you are disturbing yourself in the way you look at the world. Okay? Because the way you look already has a lot of conditions applied on it. When you look, you already have a lot of conditions applied, and when information comes in filtered through those conditions, it creates an impact. But you think that the object outside of you is responsible for all of this. So thought is in conflict with each other, with itself actually. Because thought creates first the image of the world inside the mind, and then thought creates the image of the ego inside the mind, and then thought interacts these two things, and then all the drama happens. Okay? So please remember, this happens very fast in the mind. So you have to be very attentive to catch it. You can't just catch it in a very lazy way, so as to say. You have to be quite precise, and it happens all the time during the day. So you don't have to wait for a specific moment. You will get hundreds of moments during the day when this will happen. So as usual, as we always say in our videos, please try it. Please observe it in your daily life and verify it, that what has been said, how far it's true for you at the moment, and check the rationality of the arguments which have been presented. And then I think you will see how it's working. Okay? So thought, limited, not free, creating emotion, trying to help the brain, in conflict. This is our chain regarding the thought which has been developed, and I would like to continue it further. If today I was not able to explain something nicely, then please write to me in the comments, and I will try to make it more clear in the next time. Thank you very much for who is watching, for supporting the channel, whoever is subscribed the channel recently. The channel is growing very slowly, but still it's growing, and what we are talking is not something that everyone really takes interest into. So naturally we have to accept the fact that there wouldn't be a lot of people who would be interested in this, even though we are talking essentially about life, essentially about everyday life. So, but still, everyone has a different pace, different priority. So I hope you're all doing well, and let's meet in the next episode. Thank you.